Hey everyone, it's Marcia from Mom Hunts Dead People, and today we're at Low Mill in Huntsville, Alabama.
So hi, I'm Sonja Rossow. I am a book artist, book repairer, or I also do custom books. How I got into this was actually a kind of a long story, and I'll cut it short, but my family history, not immediate, but like uncles, aunts, great uncles and aunts, had been in the printing industry, more commercial printing industry, and also did bookbinding on the side. And I remember getting an autograph book back in the 70s when that was a popular thing with my name embossed on it. And I thought, how cool is that? So I always made little books, never thinking that this could be a career. When I decided to go to graduate school and my husband deployed, I first was going to go to a low residency because I was teaching in the public schools. I thought about it. I was like, why would I do that when I can go anywhere and learn exactly what I want to? So I chose to come to the University of Alabama that has the oldest, what's called Book Arts MFA in the country, where I learned letterpress printing, handmade paper making, and bookbinding and some repair. Doing book repair was not my first decision. I always was interested in it, but I thought I wanted to do other things with this degree. But I found myself, once we moved and settled in Huntsville, and having the opportunity to have my own studio, that is what I found myself doing more of. People would come to my studio and ask me if I did this. So being that was the case, I decided that was what I would do. And I am flooded with clients, thankfully.
What does it mean to actually be a book artist, a book binder?
Sure.
Do people just bring in old books for you, or do you create your own new books?
So being a book artist or a book repairer is kind of two different things. So a book artist would be somebody who either collaborates or comes up with their own idea and prints or has the book printed and then designs the binding, and then you usually have a dealer that sells it for you, or you can do it on your own. I found that I did like to do a collaboration. I in the past had done a collaboration with a poet, and we would come together and he would provide, of course, the material, and then I would provide the printing and the binding. And that's fun, but I really get great joy out of repairing people's books. And people would come in my studio and ask me, do you repair books? And I was like, yes, I can. And so it just became word of mouth. I have a lot of people that Minuteman Press sends to me because although they say they do bookbinding, it's more like the coil binding. So I get a lot of those people. People found me on a subreddit, which I don't understand subreddit, but it's all good. So, I mean, anything from a very simple repair, maybe a page is torn, the cover's starting to come off, to a full, complete, take everything apart, resew it, and recase it in. And you would, I mean, most of my work, well, there isn't really most of my work. Many of it is religious in nature, whether it be a big family Bible or a personal Bible, study Bible that people want to keep because they have all the marginalia in there, or a family history. And so I can make a completely new case for, let's say, a personal Bible. I would never do that for a family history. Most of the time, what's gone out of those big fat Bibles is the spine. So recreating the spine, reattaching it, and then if there's anything left of the original, being able to put that back on also. But I have had children's books I've repaired. Mostly, again, the spines are gone because that's how people grab their books. I've done a new spine for a Dungeons and Dragon book. I'm working on just a Van Gogh art book that somebody bought, and it's starting to come apart. But I mean, it's really all of the things. And it doesn't matter what it is, I can usually repair it, and I'll tell you if I can't. The other thing that does happen is that I get people coming in that want to do a custom project. So whether it be a family history or something they've written, and I don't necessarily print that because that would be way too expensive for people if I letterpress print it. But what I usually ask them to do is compile it, take it to a local printer that I trust, and they bring me the insides, and then I bind it together for them to create a book. And usually these are for gifts.
Is there any way that we could prevent having to come to you? Like we can preserve our book family heirlooms so that, no offense, but we don't have to come to you in the first place. We're doing a good job as genealogists and family historians.
Absolutely, there's certainly a way to prevent this. Now, I mean, as genealogists or family historians, the first thing to know is that if you have any book, you should not be grabbing it by that top of the book. People tend to do that. It's easy. You hook your finger in and pull it. Well, that starts that ripping process of the spine, and that's what I do a lot of repair of, because people just don't understand. So first, if you have a book that's upright, then you should make it so it's not tight in the library. You grab it by the middle of the spine area along those edges of the book board and pull it out instead of grabbing it from the top. If it's a very large, heavy book, you might not want to put it on upright. Instead, lay it flat, and then you can grab it. The other thing that you want to do if you have a big oversized book or a book that's fragile is to have supports when you look at it. So there are places that you can buy those heavy foam pieces that are angled and put them down on the table and then support your book so it's not completely open and flat. And that way you're bending that spine so it makes a V instead of a gentle curve, which is what the spine should do if it's not broken. So even if you don't have that support, you could use blankets or towels to support that so it's more of a open like this, and then carefully look at it. I mean, you don't need to have gloves and all the other things, as long as you have very clean, make sure your hands are clean, and just treat your books like you would your children, just gently and carefully.
What if I'm not lucky enough to live here in Huntsville and visit you at Low Mill? What should I look for in somebody to repair my books?
Looking for someone to do book repair, first of all, you want to probably get a recommendation from somebody or somewhere. There is a conservation site that you can ask, you can find somebody who's close to you where you live. You can go to the Library of Congress site, and they have resources for you to understand and maybe find a conservator or somebody who does book repair. If you get word of mouth, I mean, to me that's always the best method to find somebody else that you know trusts. If you're just randomly searching, make sure that they have experience. Make sure that maybe that they've taken some extra classes through some various entities within the United States to understand how a book functions and the push and pull of paper. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into choices that are made when repairing a book. But there are resources out there for you. If you are not wanting to have somebody like that repair your book and do a DIY, YouTube is not a bad resource, but I find that there's a lot of videos out there that are incomplete or not quite what I would do personally. Please don't ever use adhesive tape, duct tape in particular, or Scotch tape. You can use a product from a company called Lineco that has book repair tape that is archival and much easier to use if you have something that's coming apart and you just don't want to pay somebody a lot of money.